Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It is May 17th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And just a reminder, I am leaving for Brazil on Friday, so our last chart lesson may be tomorrow. I may still do one Thursday. It just depends, but I'm probably going to take off Thursday to get the last of my stuff together because I'm going to be gone for 10 days. So uh, probably won't be anything going on Thursday. Just depends. But anyway, let's talk about the chart list. I just want to throw that out there just to remind people. Now, let me back out again here. It was all downhill today. We've got a two-tiered channel working lower. We had a break, moved to a new low, and we really just kind of went sideways from there. We did spend most of the morning, really most of the open. This is pretty flat here. You could almost trade this both ways. You see, I've got a couple of longs. I've only got one really blue long and the other one's green, and that's the only one I really liked. We weren't really going sideways until in here, and at that point you got to assume that maybe we're just working to the upper trend line too. But when we ended up breaking, I'll talk about this trade in a minute. But it's mostly all down today. There's one for sure long maybe, and one kind of aggressive long. Actually, I'll take that back. There's another one here. We'll talk about that one in a minute too. But you can see it was mostly sideways from the open until late morning, maybe just before lunch, and then the bottom just fell out of it. And if you caught a couple of these, I mean, it was easy pickings, and you get runners that just go quite a long distance. Uh, but let's back out, talk about the trades, and wrap it up for the day. Make it big enough where everybody can see it. First trade I saw was right here off the trend line. It's really just kind of like this is a little double bottom across here. It's a little breakout pullback. We aren't quite to the overnight low. It's right off the trend line. It's a real small bar, real low risk. This is one that you probably want to take. I mean, this is a tight channel. You're only getting first. You can see all the way down. You're really only getting first entries. There's not enough room for a second entry. So when you get those pretty strong and tight channels like that, a lot of times if you wait for second entry, you don't get one. Um, I like that short. And notice what happens. We run down. We get that failed second entry short, and look how far away we are from the EMA. And we are coming off the lower. If you drew this trend line here, you probably wouldn't have had this trend line yet. So you can't really count that. Um, you needed this you really needed this bounce and then also this one to really find this trend line. So you could have been close right in here because you probably would have been like me. You had it right across those lows, and it looked like this was it. But after we bounced here, I adjusted mine, and you can see it fits real nice with that. There's that jump over that midline. I talk about those jumps all the time. When you see them, you know you probably got your trend line or your midline or whatever in the right place. Don't ask me why prices jump over them. I've got some theories, but nothing really makes. I mean, there's nothing concrete that I can put my finger on and say that's what causes this. So I just know it happens, and so be aware of it. And a lot of times when your line runs through those areas, you probably got it in the right place. But anyway, we made a new low. We tried to go first entry short, then a second entry short. Um, it's not a very good signal bar if you and there's nothing's closing down here. We're bouncing and we're way away from the don't you don't usually don't want to enter that far away from the EMA, especially when you've already been away for a while. And this is a nice trap basically. It's going to trap people, and we're probably going to bounce back to at least the EMA. And if there's a trend line right here, we may be going all the way back to that angle at the high. And so I like that just at least to try to get back to the EMA, and you may end up catching one that goes higher. But you get a break of this you can see there's a little channel working up right there. We get a break right here, move to a new high, and a nice bearish bar a little ways away from the EMA to go short again. And if you caught this one, you probably caught a runner on this one. And you could ride this all the way back down. And at that point, I'd be looking for that measured leg. You can see there's your first leg. We don't get it because we run into the lower trend line here. But I would have been at least trying to hang on to this point or until we got a good bounce. If you just waited till you got your first break of a bar outside the trend line, or um, if you waited and exited just above that trend line, then you got most of it. So, but this turned out to be a nice move. And then this was your first break. A nice bearish bar right there. We aren't quite down to where we're looking for. We're not quite to a measured move. Um, we made a lower high than here, and we're looking for a new low after a break of this little channel working down through here. Um, so I like that one for a quick, easy scalp. Then we bounce. There's a second entry short here. We weren't quite back to the EMA. We've had a break of this channel and this channel at a new low now. So, and we bounced off this, and so now you should be able to find this trend line. We're probably at least going to the EMA, and that's exactly where we go. And notice, so if you went short right there, there's really no close. That's really the first close outside, so wait for that new high. Oops. And you make a double bottom, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. This is really a double bottom here. So there's a second entry right there. We still weren't quite back to the EMA. If you went short right there, you just got yourself in trouble. Here's the one that, let me draw the line so it makes it a little clearer here. If you use the closes, I guess you would have been back to that line. You aren't quite back to the EMA. You can look at that like a second entry because it is a double bottom. So first entry, second entry. So yeah, it's possible. The only thing is you don't have that new high yet, and you get it right here, and that's also a double bottom. So now you got a first entry, second entry, and you got your new high. So that's the reason I like that one and don't like that one, because you don't have your new high yet. And notice how we are starting to flatten out. We're kind of back and forth each side of the EMA, and your midline's running through there. You aren't back to that yet. So wait for that new high. Sometimes you're going to miss a trade by waiting, but it's better than getting trapped like that and getting stopped out and then watching it go exactly where you thought it would go. So this turns out to be a nice entry. Pulls back, of course, takes all the break-even stops and turns down. But I don't think you want to go short right into those lows. Just kind of sit tight, and you really never get a good entry down through there. By the time you confirm this trend line is right here, I was ready to go short there, and notice we never get a break below it. It just, the price has bounced. And what we're really trying to do, the market's pretty weak. We're trying to get to the other. Notice how we came off the low. We're trying to get to the high, and we did. We went almost sideways doing it, but notice that that's where we went to. We went to the high, and we got our break, and we kind of went sideways a little bit, and then we finally went lower. So that's generally what you're looking for. So you got to be real careful. And you could almost trade this both ways. I'd still be leery. There's no real good longs in here either. So but anyway, you bounce, you come back, and you test this area once again. Well, I can't get that line exactly right, but anyway, it would have been nice if you would have got a break right here. You do get a close outside of that. You can see there's a little trend, maybe a little flatter than that. But you get a break outside, move to a new high, and the big thing is you turn down right off of this. There's your high. You tested it once, twice. That's your double test, and you got a nice little bearish bar, small bar. Go short right there. Runs down. It bounces again, and this EMA is coming into play. Notice that you got a new low here. You get a first entry, and then you get a second entry right here. But you got a trend line working up through there, and you don't have a break until here, so wait for that new high. Same thing as we had right here. This is almost a repeat pattern. Look, you come up, you get a break, new high. Come up, you get a break, new high, and then you can go short. If you try to go short too early, this was tempting, and it would have been a 4-tick failure. If you used a limit order, you'd have been okay. But your only real warning here is that you don't have a break of that trend line yet. Sometimes, you may take off right there, but it's just not worth it. Like we talked about earlier, you're better off to wait till you get that break, and if you miss one, you miss one. Sometimes that happens. But I kind of liked going long here. Notice that you got a new low, and this is a first entry. And then so this is a second entry short as well, and it fails. And you got to figure at this point we're headed back up to this trend line. And this actually broke lower and then turned and went out the other side and ended very bullish. It's right into this other resistance, but it is somewhat of a trap, so it's a little aggressive, so I made it green. But if you really wanted to try to get along there, you probably could have. Just make sure you got enough room to scalp out before you get to that trend line. And then it pulls back and you get a break, and I don't like going long here, even though it would have worked. This is one you just kind of have to watch go, because and notice right again how it gaps over that line. There it is again. Closed and then open. Those bars don't overlap. And you'll see that over and over. That tells me I got my line in the right place. And you make a new high, but now you got a break in a new high, and you got a second entry short. New low right here, pull back first entry. Actually, that's not a second entry short. I take that back, but it's just you get your break in a new high, and it's a nice bearish bar, a little ways away from the EMA. Comes back, but then it comes back again. You could consider going short there, but it's just kind of an up-down bar. I don't really like it. Yeah, you probably could make that one green. It's a double top. It's right off this trend channel line. We're probably going at least to the other side if we don't keep going lower. And so there's some reason to consider that one. Then you make another new low. It's lower than that low. First entry, pull back. Second entry short. There is a trend line here. And you get a break, a new high. You don't really get a great signal bar. It's a double test, but that's not a very good signal bar. That's certainly not, and this is not a very good one either. So this one's green again. It is a failed break higher above that little double top. It is coming off the upper trend line. There's some reasons to like that one, but it's not a great setup, so I made it green. And if you caught this one, of course, then you catch a runner. And notice your trend line working off those closes there. Pull back to it, and you get a nice bearish bar there, go short. And at this point, I figured we're probably going all the way down, but we don't. We bounce here. That was an easy scalp. There's actually a failed second entry long there, but you got to go short right into that low. I don't think you want to do that. And then it bounces. You get a close outside, and you move back up. You get a first entry. Actually, there's a second entry right there. Notice you're moving up. Let me get this line right. Notice you're moving up. You get a first entry, pull back second entry, but you don't really have a good close outside that line. That one maybe, but it's so close, and then that one doesn't. And this is just too bullish. It's not a real bullish bar, but it's not bearish enough. I don't like it. So just wait, and then you come back up, and you finally get a nice bearish bar here. This is really your signal bar right here, but when you get that nice bearish bar, if you can catch that one, again, look how it gaps over that kind of midline, the EMA right there, and it takes on off. So you may not have caught that trade, but if you did, your stop has to go above this signal, above these two matching double highs here. And so again, if you draw that short-term trend line, it probably saves you here. Even though that's not a great setup, it could have been on your chart. These charts are slightly different. And if you caught this one though, look at it go. This is an easy runner. And what you can do here, if you can't get your stop in these on one like this on time, put a limit order and see if it'll back up and fill it. A lot of times it will, right where your stop would have been. And maybe you can get lucky. If you miss this one, you missed a great trade. And this one just keeps going. And it doesn't bounce. It actually pushes through the bigger trend line coming down right here. You can see that right there. But that doesn't really matter. We're almost at the end of the day, and that would have been a great place to exit. So if you caught that one, you know, you're looking at, if you just waited until you got a, you hit that lower line first, which would have been right there. There's 13.5 points right there. So nice runner right there. Although that would have been a hard one to catch. So, but there were still some nice trades in there, a few aggressive ones. But it was all downhill from that point until maybe the last 30 minutes of trading, 20 minutes maybe. It bounced. But that's to be expected because we actually overshot the lower trend line. Plus, this looked like the channel at first, but it kept going. So get your measured move over, and guess where it bounces? Right where that measured move between here and here and here and here is. When you keep going, just measure that move and move it over, and that should give you a place to look for a target right there. But it hit this line first, so I would have exited right in front of that most likely, and you would have got out within a couple of ticks of the low here, maybe a point of that low. So yeah, good trading. Now again, it was fairly flat for most of the morning, but from lunchtime on, it just, the bottom fell out of it. So, and I would have been, once we started, I would have measured this leg right here, and that's where we got the first major correction. And from there to there, I would have looked for a measured move too, and that gets you down into right in here, although we went much lower than that. So, something else to consider. But yeah, I think that's about it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow, and then we'll just kind of have to see how it goes on Thursday. So, but just a reminder, I'll be gone all next week. And so if you got anything you need emergency-wise, you'll just have to send me an email, and I'll get to it when I can. If you will, again, hold all your questions and your charts and things like that until I get back, just so I don't have a million emails to try to catch up on. And it's hard to not be watching the charts during the week and answer those things anyway. So, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.